Welcome to the DNA Destiny Network Amplified podcast. So glad that you're with us today. And as we get started, I want to introduce a very special guest that we get to have today. This is Pastor Matt Keller. He not only pastors Next Level Church right here in Fort Myers.
Yes.
But he also oversees the Next Level Relational Network. Yep. How many pastors do you have part of that network now?
202 churches now.
202 churches part of the network. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Next Level Church has 4 campuses right here in Fort Myers. Yeah. And the main campus just happens to be less than a mile from our place right here.
Dude, I love it. We've been at this for a long time.
And we've been at it together for a long time.
Come on.
Matt and I have a real unique journey together because he planted Next Level Church the same year. 2002, that I became the pastor of Life Church here in Fort Myers.
So we've taken the whole journey.
We've taken a whole journey together.
What a gift you've been.
And it's been great to be friends and to partner together in ministry. And I think you're in for a treat today. As a matter of fact, probably what you're going to want to do is share this podcast with your friends. I know we haven't even started it yet, but I know it's going to be good. It's going to be something to bless you. And today we want to talk about culture.
Amen.
In our last podcast, one of the things we said, we were just talking about leading with vision. And we said things like, culture eats vision for lunch. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I began to think it's one thing for us to tell leaders that, but then how do we help leaders know how to build a culture? Right? And so probably what we should do is define what we mean by culture. So when you hear culture, church culture, what do you mean by that? What do you think of?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me just say thank you, Ryan. I just honor you and your network and your church and your friendship. Man, you have just meant the world to me. And what I want you guys to know, what you see is what you get, because we literally pastor down the street from each other, and yet God's built a friendship, and it's really, really cool. And for what you have built with your family is awesome and has impacted our city, and I honor you today, man. So when I think about culture, really for me, here's how we've said it and taught it for a long, long time, Ryan, is culture for us is what we do here, but it's also what we are here. And then most importantly, it's how we are here. So what we do, what we are, and how we are here. In other words, how we're going to be together. And culture is one of those things, we all know this, but because we're defining it, culture for us is one of those things that is often felt, but you're not real sure, but you can't necessarily pin it down. So for example, why is your favorite restaurant your favorite restaurant? Well, the reason your favorite restaurant is your favorite restaurant is, yes, there are probably 4 or 5 things that are tangible that I like the food and it's in a good location. Well, those are things that you can pin down. But the truth is, your favorite restaurant is your favorite restaurant. Yes, for those 4 things you can name that are tangible, but there's about 6 or 8 things that you can't even really put your finger on.
You might not even be cognizant of what they are, right? It's a feeling.
But it's a feel. That's culture. And we would say culture is the soil that the vision of our churches grows in.
That's so funny because that is the exact metaphor that I use all the time when I'm talking about
Great
culture.
Minds think alike, baby.
So I don't even think we've actually had this conversation before.
We haven't.
But I knew you were the person for this podcast.
Come on, man. Well, thank you. I'm honored.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, because a vision is like a word from God. It's a seed that gets planted in soil.
That's it.
And it could be a great seed, but if the soil doesn't have the right pH balance to support that seed, the kind of fruit, how much fruit it produces is dependent upon the culture of that soil. So let's talk about culture. Like when you planted, let me ask this question, because I know we have some people that are wanting to plant churches that are watching a podcast. We got pastors that are wanting to send people out to plant churches. When you planted Next Level Church, 2002, how aware were you of the need to set a good culture?
Culture wasn't really a word we were using back then, but for Sarah and I, it existed in our mind. Again, we probably wouldn't have been able to say, we would need to create a healthy culture, whatever. But because of where we had come from, we had seen so much unhealth that I think the way we would have said it, and we did say it back then for the first several years of our church, was when we were starting out, we knew a lot about what we didn't want to be in ministry, but we did because of what we had seen and experienced that we would say would be an unhealthy culture, but we didn't know a lot about what we did want to be in ministry. So what we were describing, again, was not vision, man. We had vision from the start. What we were describing in so many ways was culture. So I would say, looking back at our story, Yeah, we knew we wanted to do things differently than we had seen or experienced. What we do, what we are, and how we are. We knew we wanted those things to be different back then, even if we didn't have the culture language.
You didn't have the language to describe.
Absolutely.
You knew what you didn't want it to be.
Correct. And then
More
we
than maybe you knew what you
discovered
wanted
over
to
the
be.
first 5 to 8 years, oh, this is what we want to be. Oh, this is who we are here. Oh, this is how we want to be here. That started to come clear.
So I'm saying that I'm asking this question because I think it'll encourage people. Like some pastors might have been pastoring for a couple years.
Right.
Maybe they've not been really intentional about setting a culture. Others maybe for a longer time not. It's never too late to start, right?
Absolutely.
So let's say you're about 5 to 8 years in, and then you begin to get some language around culture. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
So what were the first building blocks that you used to start to create, to build the culture within Next Level Church that you wanted?
Well, just what you said, I think one of the things we landed on in that first decade, let's say, just to timestamp it, was that language shapes culture. And so, this is a dated illustration, but go with it. We used to say back 10, 15 years ago when we teach on culture that Starbucks has the language. Tall, grande, venti. Dunkin' Donuts has small, medium, large. They don't have language. Who has the culture? Starbucks. And again, it could be argued, whatever. The point is that language shapes culture. And so as we were progressing into our church, it was growing and our leadership team was growing, we knew we've got to get language to this. And so where does that language come from? It comes from the heart of the leader. And so what we did, we had a whole offsite in terms of like our core values of our church, but then what we have our core values, which are for everybody, but then of how you become a more fully engaged follower of Jesus, which is our purpose statement. But we have our leadership behavioral values, and there's 7 of those. So we would say if you're going to lead here at Next Level Church, which is to be a proponent, a propeller of the culture here, then these are the language pieces that matter. So we did a whole 2-day offsite where a large portion of that offsite was just the team pulling out of Sarah and I's heart who we were, because the culture of who you become starts with the culture of who you are as the senior leaders, that anointing flows down. We believe that. And so it's language, but where do you start? You start in the heart of the leader.
Heart. Yeah. It begins with your core values, right?
Exactly.
Who you are.
Who I am as a person.
I've said it this way. You can disagree with me. We talk about that we are believers, like we're human beings, not human doings.
Yep.
And when you take it to the corporate thing, we are a corporate body, a corporate man, you might say, right?
Right.
And oftentimes as churches, we get more focused on what we're doing than who we're becoming.
That's it.
Even as a church.
That's it.
And I think the culture part, values out of that heart, is the being part.
That's it.
Of who we are as a church,
Absolutely.
Right?
The words we use around on the Next Level world, not only Next Level Church here in Southwest Florida, but our Next Level Relational Network with our pastors, is we talk about health and high impact. Health and high impact. So the high impact is the doing part. And there's a lot of doing to ministry. But
yes, there is. You got that right.
Health is the being part.
Yeah.
That this is who we're going to be here together. This is how we're going to be here together. And so it's the health that shapes the culture. And then we work with a consultant named Lance Witt, who has a ministry called Replenish. And he says health and high impact, but health is always the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
So we're going to lead with health. We're going to lead with the being side of what we are as ministry leaders.
Right.
And as a church.
So everything begins out of the heart of the leader.
Yep.
Right? Out of the heart of the leader. Tell me about what some of those conversations look like, if you don't mind, when they were pulling out of your heart, like who you are, what are your core values?
Yeah.
And then and then how did that translate to the 7 things that you have?
Yes, I think
leaders?
it starts with identifying behaviors, because we live behaviorally. So as soon as you start to go, well, who are Matt and Sarah? Like, they're fun. They live a life of sacrificial service. So you start to pull some of those ideas, those words out. And again, there are things that you can do now online, areas where you can find 100 words, which ones define you, or 200 words. Those are awesome because they kind of give you starter prompts, But again, I think then it's looking at the heart of the leaders at the top and then going, well, this feels like us, and this feels like us. Well, man, Matt and Sarah, when you think about Matt and Sarah Keller, you think everything they do is defined by love. Well, they're resourceful, So, and then of course we have anecdotal stories around all of those things where we're resourceful. Well, yeah, we started with $9,200, and no clue, but so we figured out
in a movie theater.
In a movie theater, we don't take no for an answer. We figure it out. That's who. Like all of those phrases, all those things that we have said and done, and behaviors and anecdotes. Then once you get those out, now you start to organize those and go, oh, this looks like sacrifice. This looks like fun. This looks like love. This looks like resourcefulness. This looks like loyalty. And now you're starting to go, which is how then we emerge to our 7 words that define our leadership behavioral values that ultimately are the backbone of our culture.
Yeah, and this was an offsite meeting.
Yeah.
But the culture didn't get built on an offsite meeting.
Right.
So you now walk away from the offsite. We're going to be intentional about building this culture within Next Level Church.
Yep.
Now what?
Yeah. Well, for us, we took those 7 words and we said, okay, this is fundamentally who we are. And then what you just did at the top of this so brilliantly, which is, well, what does love mean? You got to define it. And then scripturally, what does that mean for us? So then what's a contextual scripture that matters to each of those 7 core values or leadership behavioral values? And then how does each of those get played out in practical terms here? So then we essentially tried to assign 3 or 4 bullet points under each of those that we went, when we think fun, what does that mean? We think resourcefulness. What does that mean? When we think loyalty, what does that mean? Loyalty for us is not loyalty to a person, it's loyalty to the vision. Things like that. So again, that takes a long time to massage out. Then we take all of that. Let me fast forward, see if I know where the next question's going. Then you take all of that back to some of your leadership team, for us, our staff, and say, hey, we think this is something. Like we think we're aiming at a pretty good target here, but let's don't assume these are 100%. So it took years for us to fine tune what today one would go, oh, next level culture. My goodness, it's amazing, right? Okay, well, it took years to get there.
Years of intentionality, years of regular and consistent work.
Yep.
And so it's incredible. I think there are multiple ways for those of you watching. I think there are multiple ways this can be fleshed out, whatever word you want to use within your context. So, for instance, what we've done. Give me your thoughts on this. We boiled down, finally got to what our core values were as a church, and then we said, okay, so now for our leadership team. There's our value. Here's a corresponding scriptural principle that goes along with this value.
Love it.
Ultimately, over here too, okay, here's our covenant agreements to how we're going to live this out in terms of our leadership and our life.
Yes.
Because the goal is, culture's not culture until it's felt.
That's it.
And when you hear it back to you without somebody knowing what your core values are, what your culture is, then you know you're living it out, right?
Absolutely.
So for us, when we hear things like, my goodness, we just experienced the presence of God here. It's been such a blessing. When our core value is the presence of God, right? So, okay, we're living this out. Loving relationships, another core value for our house. I was so welcomed. It's been so easy to make connections here. We're starting to live it out, right? This doesn't happen overnight.
No.
You said how many years? 7 years? 8 years?
Oh yeah. That you're tweaking them, you're fine tuning them. Hey, what if this phrase is, and then even you put phrases down, and then, for resourcefulness, we used to say we don't take no for an answer. Well, then we had leaders down the line who were
didn't
using
feel like they
that,
could say no.
Well, and they were using it to argue, right? So now I have permission to argue because I won't take no for an answer. And you're like, hold on. Don't use it against us.
Context.
So so we had to tweak that statement.
Right.
So I love what you're saying, and I love that the way to test your culture is to hear how it's being mirrored back to you in your first time, from a first time attender to a longstanding member. I didn't mean to rhyme right there, but I felt it, and I went for it.
Anointing,
I got to go.
It was prophetic. You really know you're prophetic if you rhyme. When you
if it rhymes, that's right. Exactly. So that's a great way to mirror your culture back. Is to be just to have that listening ear. Right. How is what we say we want to be really? Is it getting all the way down?
Right. So just like every soil has a culture, has a pH balance, right? Every church has a culture. Some have a culture by default.
Yep.
Which really is most of us at one place, or you can have it by design.
That's it.
Right?
Yep.
By design, I would assert it's going to serve the vision that God wants you to live out and express. By default, will lead to a lot of frustration. Because we got this great vision. Why are we not getting traction? What's happening? Why do we keep it in a wall?
There's weeds in the soil.
Oftentimes, it's the culture.
Yep.
Oftentimes, it's the culture. So, a lot of work, a lot of diligence, and so worth it.
So worth it.
So worth it. It takes time.
But it's hard. Can I speak to that for a second?
Yeah,
Henry
please.
Cloud talks about, the famous quote now of Henry Cloud is, culture is what we create and what we allow. And it's what you're talking about. It's defined or it's deferred. Or what was your word? Did you use deferred or
Default?
Yeah, default.
Or
Yeah.
design. Yeah.
Yeah, or design. And you're so right. And so when we default and when we just allow things in the culture, that's where we get into trouble. And that's where the vision starts to drift, because now we're allowing things. And that's what makes protecting and defending the culture of a house so important, but also so hard.
Yeah.
Because it's 100 little conversations.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. We're going to get to that.
Great.
100 little conversations.
All right.
You triggered me, but in a good way.
Yeah. All right.
In a good way.
You stay focused on what you say, but we'll try and get there.
This one, I want to really stay focused on the development of the culture, right?
That's great.
And then just to give you a tease, next podcast,
all right,
we're going to talk about sustaining that culture.
Right?
Because the work's never done.
That's it.
Right?
Great.
So wish it would be done, but it's always in progress. So what are some of the habits and rhythms that you guys got in as you begin to develop that culture within Next Level Church that helped you ultimately build
well,
that culture?
Great question. It starts at the top. And so it starts with obviously what we call an ELT, Executive Leadership Team. But then it starts then, the next step is to your staff. And so I think, if you looked under the hood of Next Level Church, what you would see is a constancy of attention to our culture. I mean, we still, even though we're a multi-site church and we have staff spread out all over the county now, and with traffic down here, it's hard to get together. We've just made it a decision that Tuesdays are Central Staff Day, and everybody comes together. And we have a staff meeting every single Tuesday morning from 9 to 10:15. We spend the first 75 minutes of our day before we get into teams and all of the high impact doing stuff. We want to be together, and we worship together because that's a priority. We'll give a few updates, of course, but then every single Tuesday morning, somebody on our leadership team is giving a different angle or perspective on culture. One of our leadership behavior values, like for real, we'll teach on some stuff occasionally, but probably 35 to 40 of our 52 Tuesdays. Yeah, that's true. Are culture based. It's constant. Like we are constantly doing that. And then from our staff, because you just can't let off the gas, because they're the ones who are going to carry the culture out, not just the vision, they're going to carry the culture.
Yes.
And so if they're not hearing it pure from the spout, as close to the spout as we can get, then what it's going to get diluted the further out it goes. So then from there, then of course they're taking that back to all their locations. We're taking that back to all of our leaders. So we have 400 or 500 leaders in our church now. And so then we're constantly looking for ways to get the culture to them. How do we teach them? How do we get it to them? How do we do so? We've started a podcast called Leadership Drip that goes just to all of our 500 leaders in our church, where they're just hearing us do this. And one of our team is interviewing somebody else on the team, me or Sarah or one of our other ELT, and we're just talking about core values. How do we live this out? How do we protect this? How do we defend this? How do we keep being culture creators and culture carriers, not just culture allowers? So it is a constant process that you just as a leader can't let off the gas of.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think what's also important, especially for people that are listening, is that your teams don't just have an understanding of what culture you're wanting to build, and that you don't just have an understanding of how you're building culture, but the why. you're building culture.
So good.
The why you're having those conversations is like huge.
It's
because
massive.
people will tire on the what. Oh yeah, we know. The how.
So good.
But keeping before them why.
That's right.
The culture is important. So that they carry that burden with you.
Yeah.
And then they become people that help you to literally build that culture within your church.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's such a big deal.
I know when we got really intentional about setting culture, first of all, I think you mentioned did you have somebody come in from outside and kind of
we have in seasons.
In seasons, yeah, we did at the beginning just to really help pull out of me what was in me.
Yep, which is a great
was
idea.
so important. And then we developed that sheet that I told you. It's got like 4 columns in it for our staff. But then what we did is we took to every area of ministry, to our guest services, to our worship team, kids ministry, every area of ministry, and said, all right, we want you now to develop a document that looks like this, so that the culture of Life Church can be expressed, and then you invite the team members, the volunteers, I don't like that word, the people that serve on your team, to make a commitment of how they're going to live that out as they serve in their area of ministry.
Wow.
That's just another tidbit to throw out there of how you can literally build the culture and do it intentionally.
Well, and you just used the word, and you used it a few minutes ago, and so I want to circle back to it, and that's the word covenant.
Yeah.
Every single one of our leaders in the house all sign a covenant when they go through our leadership, we call it Excel, our leadership training, all of that. And when they step into leadership, when we lay hands on them at a leaders rally, there's a covenant document that they sign that, again, is not just lifestyle, although that's important, which is the doing. They're committing to culture. You're committing to help guard and protect the good deposit that the Lord has entrusted to us. 1 Corinthians 4, Paul says, we are those who have been entrusted, and we must be found faithful. We believe that, and we take that seriously. And so it is not too much for us to ask our 400 or 500 leaders to sign a covenant, not a contract, covenant that's based on trust. Covenants are based on distrust.
Contracts.
Covenants are based on trust, that we have each other's best interest in mind. We're in covenant together, which means we love hard, and which means we're in your corner and you're in our corner. And that matters high impact behavior and also culture and health.
Yeah, so good. So good. I started thinking about 15 different things while you were talking there, because so many good things that you just threw out there.
I'll chase you. Wherever you're going, I'll go. I'm with you.
Well, the things I started thinking about were actually off the topic of this podcast, so it probably wouldn't serve the topic of this podcast.
We'll do a different one. Let's have lunch.
We'll do that another one. That's so good. So, shoot. I had a question right there, and it's gone. I don't usually have this problem, but there we go. So the regular meetings, keeping the culture before your team. I love the fact that you're having your leaders actually sign a covenant saying, we're going to live this out. Here's what the thought was. I knew I'd get back to it.
I got it. We're slow, but
really what we're doing is we're building a corporate identity. I hate the word corporate.
Sure.
Corporate identity into the corporate body that are the churches that we live in. And it made me think about when our kids were young, there were just certain things that we did.
That's it.
This is the way.
It's a family identity.
Exactly right. I'm getting it. It's a family identity. And we'd be driving around the car, and we'd say, this is what we do. And I would say something crazy. This is what we do because we're the Ryan Deaton family.
That's right.
And this is who we are, and this is what we do.
That's it.
So whether it was we're going to church on Sunday, or we're stopping to pray before we eat, or whatever it may be, we're teaching them to honor adults or saying yes, because this is who we are as a family. Other families can do what they want to do.
That's it.
And that corporate identity is so important.
Yeah.
And actually living it out.
Well, and around Next Level, we like to say we're a house, we're a body, but we're a family. And according to Scripture, we are those three things. We are a house, but we are a body.
That's right.
An organism.
That's right.
And we are a family, and we take the family piece serious. And so, to your point, we did the same thing with our boys who were small. That we're Kellers, and Kellers don't act that way. We're Kellers, and Kellers do act that way, and Kellers do say this, and we do look people in the eye, and we do have a question ready when we're with someone we want to learn from.
Like I think we could easily go into a parenting podcast here if we're not careful.
Ryan, I think I got a book in me called "Leadership is Just Parenting in Disguise."
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Because is it not true?
Yeah. I've got a book in me called "Parenting Kids in Ministry." So
let's go, baby. Come on, let's do it, bro.
Companion books.
This is so good.
So early on, I'm sure you made some mistakes. Like we're telling all the wins and like this is what we did and this is what's working.
Smooth
because we're so awesome and we're all that and then some.
No issues.
Right. So early on, building culture. Mm-hmm. What'd you do wrong? What'd you learn the hard way?
Great question. A couple of thoughts. One, I think if Sarah were here, she would, because we lead together. She would agree with this. We abdicated culture creation. For a season, and it cost us big time. Mm-hmm. And leaders who didn't have our heart and who didn't have our culture ended up shaping what became a subculture that was unhealthy and off from what the Lord had put in our heart to build and create.
You said it was a subculture, but it actually was, my guess, the culture of Next Level Church that people experienced.
Correct.
But you would say it's subculture because it wasn't what you were up to building.
Absolutely. And so, and we paid a price for that, sadly, and so did people. And a lot of people got hurt. And a lot of people left upset and angry, sad, and
nobody listening has ever had that happen before.
Right? Come on, ministry leaders. Isn't it good to be in the family of God? God's grace is sufficient, but that was a moment for us. It was in 2014, and I'll spare the details of the event just because it doesn't matter.
Right.
But Sarah and I were at a staff event, and we walked away, and we looked at when we got in the car, and we were down in Naples, and we were driving home, and we got in the car, and like literally simultaneously, we looked at each other, and we said, "Have we lost our staff?" Like that room doesn't feel like us at all.
It's painful.
And it was painful. And but that was the inciting incident we needed to course correct. And it took a lot of leaders left. Again, a lot of hard conversations. And it was one of the most painful seasons of our life, but it was right. So I would say, to answer your original question, what were some of the mistakes? We abdicated culture creation. And I would say even now, even as our organization has grown way bigger than we ever were back then, in multi-site, which is a whole nother level, which we'll talk about next time, I think. But Sarah and I know we are the chief culture creators of Next Level Church. That in its purest form, it's us, and we take that responsibility seriously.
Yeah. As the lead pastor at Life Church, I consider that the most important things I do, obviously preaching the word, right? I would say second is steward the culture.
Absolutely.
And then third, casting vision.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's just how important it is.
Absolutely.
So prayer and ministry of the word, stewarding culture. And it's a challenge. You said something, having the hard conversations, right? How do you build culture? Let me give you a one-phrase thing. One conversation at a time.
That's it.
Repeated over and over and over again.
That's it.
And I think as I look back, even today, my tendency to the mistake I make is overlooking something or choosing not to address something that is outside of culture. When I'm building it. Sometimes I've made excuses for leaders, and I thought, it's a one-off, overlooking it, it'll be okay.
But it's them, and they're different.
Right, yeah. Biggest mistake.
Absolutely.
So
I agree.
As you go to build culture, if we were just kind of review, it's got to flow out of the heart of the leader.
That's it.
Right? So what's in your heart? Who are you as a leader? What are the core values that you have? How do you live them out in your leadership? And oftentimes they just sit in us like, of course, because this is the way it is.
Right.
And that sitting with people that can help pull it out of you and ask the questions, huge.
Huge.
If you're looking for somebody to do that, we'd love to connect you with somebody that can help you do that.
Amen.
Because it is the starting point to actually building culture in your church, because you can't build a culture that's outside of who you are. Like,
Amen.
I can't look at Next Level Church and say, I want that culture because I'm not Matt Keller. He's a great guy. He is one of my good friends. But I can't build that because I'm not him. I'm different. There's some things we have in common, but we're different, right? So I've got to know who I am before God and what are the things that are non-negotiables for me. Get that out onto paper in words that other people can grab onto.
Yes, that they can run with it.
And then you become an invitation into that.
Absolutely.
And then you know what you're looking for, who you're looking for.
That's right.
But then having those conversations.
It's huge.
To not just build culture, but then sustain it. Because I would say it's never fully built.
No.
It's a constant work in progress, right?
Yep.
And that's what we're going to talk about in our next podcast. But before we go, I want to remind you about something important coming up September 22nd through the 24th. Destiny Network's Affecting Destiny Conference in Clewiston, Florida. You're not going to want to miss it. You can sign up now. Go to destiny-network.com, find the events, get registered for Affecting Destiny. And until next time, thanks for joining the DNA Podcast. If you've enjoyed this podcast, if it's been a blessing to you, make sure you like it so you get notified every time this podcast comes out. But then share this with your ministry friends. We just want to be a blessing to them and help them build what God's calling them to build in their context. We'll talk to you next time.